Welcome to The Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
My name is David Errigo Jr. I'm a voice actor. I am lucky enough to do that as a way to make my living. And today we're here talking about my role as Ferb in Phineas and Ferb, the movie, Candace Against the Universe, which I am super, super excited to start sharing with people very soon, August 28th. It is so cool to be one of the early things that's being put out as an original from Disney Plus. I mean, Disney Plus is already just so cool and really hits a sweet spot for a lot of people, myself included. I grew up as a huge Disney fan and have worked for Disney in a couple of different capacities in the past, including working for Disney Cruise Line, which was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing the shows on the ships. But this specifically, the Phineas and Ferb thing, man, this movie is going to be fantastic. I know that Dan and Swampy and everybody involved, Bob Bowen and just all of the different people. Of course, as I'm trying to say it, names are escaping me. But there were so many people involved who have really done a wonderful job making a wonderful film for fans of the series to jump back into and for newcomers to jump into. I mean, I can't really give many plot details or anything like that, but I can say that it's fantastic. I got to see an animatic a while back, and it just kind of blew my mind to see what they were able to accomplish, and to see the things that they're able to bring back is a lot of fun, and to see that the things that they've created that are new, similarly very fun. One of my favorite jokes in the movie is actually something that's new and just speaks to me on a personal level. I find it pretty hilarious. But I've also definitely talked to some people about my sort of unique position in the film, in that, you know, so many of the cast are returning cast members, and I'm kind of new. I got to jump in when the crossover for Milo Murphy's Law happened, and then of course with the new movie they were so kind to me and let me come back again, and it's been a really neat experience where I kind of feel like I get to be the surrogate for the fandom, right? When we do stuff like the table read, I should back up a little bit. I'm a big fan of the show, and I have been for years. Perry, the platypus, that noise that he makes has been my text tone for like 8 years, something like. So that is well before I had any chance to jump in and be a part of this universe. So coming at it as someone who is a fan of the series, I mean, I'm a huge fan of animation, but this show just stands out. It feels good, right? This is a show that feels good when you watch it. And being a part of that and getting to sit in on that we did recently, we did it's worth looking up. We did a table read of one of the first scenes from the movie, and we all know that Ferb isn't particularly talkative, so that is something that stayed true through the table read, and so I got to kind of be the fan who was backstage. I got to watch Ashley Tisdale do her Candace laugh, you know, before anybody else did. Everybody else can see it now. Go find it, watch it. It's so great. I got to see Vincent doing his thing. I got to see Malik and Bobby do their things as Baljeet and Buford. To see their face and see them react and respond, it was great. To, you know, obviously see Dan do Doof, and Swampy unfortunately didn't really get to do any major monogram because there weren't any major monogram lines, but he read all the stage directions and stuff. It really kind of felt like I was being spoiled. Like I felt like I was being spoiled as a fan of the series, getting to experience this before anyone else. I got to be friends with people like Peter Pan and Quasimodo and Buzz Lightyear on some level. Some of these were friends that I was understudying, I should say. Things like Ham as a puppet, Luigi, one of the two guys from Lady and the Tramp. But that really was one of my favorite jobs performing I've ever had. I'm a sucker for routine. And when you're on a ship and you are on the 7-day itinerary and your weeks essentially repeat, you can really create a nice routine. It's kind of like having benchmarks along the way of a journey, right? But the journey repeats. So you have these points that you have to hit, but then in between, there was what I called planned spontaneity. So there were these windows where you could just kind of do what you want, have fun, and or be productive. And of course, eat like you gotta as a human. I really, really enjoyed that job. And interestingly, that was during a time, that was about 2011. So Phineas and Ferb was a pretty big hit by then. I know the show came out 13 years ago, maybe like 2 or 3 days ago was the anniversary of that. So when I was on the ship, that was fall of 2011, I think, into the spring of 2012. And one of my castmates actually had the Perry the Platypus like onesie pajama thing, and she would wear that all the time around crew spaces. And I was like, what is this? What is this thing? But it was a huge deal. I remember seeing all the merch in the gift shops and all of that, only to, later be able to join the family. I've been able to interact with Olivia Olson a couple times, which is fun, and it's always fun to like get a picture with her and then do like hashtag for Abnessa or something like that, because fans enjoy those kinds of ship kinds of things. Vincent, I got to know at D23 last year, which was really great, and we've kept in contact a little bit through texts and Twitter and everything like that. Every now and then we'll just reach out to one another, check in. How you doing, bro? Mostly out of the group, I've had the most time to interact with Dan and Swampy. Swampy does this really cool thing where he opens up his animation studio to let people come and hang out and just put out good vibes and everything like that. And I've really enjoyed that over the last few years since getting to know him. And then Dan, a couple times I've been out to his place for like barbecues, and he and Brock Powell and myself, Brock is on a lot of Milo Murphy. He does a lot of the additional voices and stuff and characters like Dr. Not Sorry, I think is what the character is called. This really fun Canadian evil scientist. But Dan, Brock, and I have done The Void, which is this virtual reality experience, a couple times, and that has always been just a blast. I can't believe that I get to do this. Like that might seem so silly, but like when you read something as good as that is, and your goal is to make a living in this field, and that you're going to be a part of something that is going to be so important to so many people, it is really affecting. Like when you're reading something like that and that you're going to get to be a part of something as iconic as this movie is destined to be, there is kind of an overwhelming factor to it, but not overwhelming in the bad way, overwhelming in like the best way. Like, somebody pinched me. I can't believe that this is my life. Ferb doesn't speak too much. So as a voice actor, to be like, yeah, I'm the I'm the current voice of Ferb, and super excited about it. Sometimes you get people and they're like, but like, he doesn't really talk, so why are you so excited? And you're like, because it's Ferb from Phineas and Ferb. That's why it's so exciting. I've been asked in the past, like, what is my favorite thing about him? And I so admire his chill, right? Like, he's just a character who is so even keeled in general. And almost anything he does comes off as cool or chill or whatever. Like, even, one of those gifts, the first one that comes up, I think is like, it's just like that. And he doesn't have to say anything, obviously. He's just, occasionally he'll give you one of these. And like, you just know that he's cool, or, well, actually. And then somebody cuts him off. No skin off his nose, whatever. I think there's one time, because I have really tried to do my due diligence and watch the series a couple times over so that I'm able to capture the nuance and things like that. But I do think there's the one time in that episode where they keep having him get interrupted, right? Where he keeps, well, actually. And then he just kind of like, at the end is like, oh, I can't remember what he says, but he's like, I'm not even going to try anymore, essentially. And it's like the only time that he gets frustrated by anybody calling him out for not speaking. Really been one of the best parts about getting involved is that people have been welcoming. I think there was some skepticism at first, and that highlights something sort of funny to me about taking over this role specifically, is that there is literally a song called "You're Not Ferb." So anybody who wants to be like, they can just be like, here's this song. Well, okay. I beg to differ. Currently I am, but I get your feelings. And yeah, it exists. Plus, it's a great song, piece of music from the show. Like, it ranges from really good to just plain fantastic, right? Nothing even stoops to the level of, oh yeah, this song is good. Now, this song their spectrum of quality in music on this show, I think, starts at really good and then just rises from there. They sent out a pretty wide net, I think, looking for a voice match, to see what they could get. If somebody could match obviously the cadence, the timbre, however you want to say it, depending on your inclinations. Personally, the core of the guy, right? So they sent that out. It was pretty short. I think they used the quotes from the ones about sorbet, whereas sorbet is made entirely of fancy people. Sometimes if I'm not thinking about it, I get that wrong. I promise I am diligent about it when I'm in section. And I did the audition. I actually had my wife take a listen to it, and she goes, if you don't get this one, I don't know why you wouldn't. And she's always very honest with me. She lets me know if I do a bad job. So she really thought that this was going to click, and I was like, okay, we have to try and not get our hearts set on anything, right? Because tons of opportunities come our way. You got to do it, forget about it, move on. So I did, and a couple weeks later, I want to say, or maybe even a month, they sent another email to my agents and said, hey, we want to have David read this again. We want to just hear him do the audition again. Okay. And I think there were some slight tweaks to the copy, but I did it, sent it off again, and not too long after that, they sent an email saying, hey, we'd like to cast David in this role. And it was December of 2017 that we recorded for the first time. That first thing that we recorded was for the Milo Murphy's Law crossover episode. And they were actually pretty far along the process into that. But even then, I think it took until fall of 2018 for that to air. And we recorded the first thing for this movie, I think, in the summer of 2018. So it's been a little over 2 years, and we did a fair amount of recording during that time, and then we finished up the movie. We did the ADR, it's called, which is the fixes and the crowds and just the additional stuff that you get for the movie. We did that at home, actually. Behind me, right here, this is actually a vocal booth. So I've got a microphone and computer and all of that set up in there, and that is where I do work from home as it currently exists. It depends on the project. Recently, I auditioned for something, I think 4 times before, I'm guessing, not getting it. I have no idea. We never know until we know that somebody else got it, right? But I also have another series that I'm working on that had an initial call and then a callback and was cast. So I think it's dependent on the project, and I think it's dependent upon the role at times. I think I was pretty fortunate with Ferb in that casting really felt like I matched the sound very, very well. They played the voice prints side by side, and even in the digital wave form, they looked very, very similar, which is a really nice help. One of the best compliments I heard from Dan at one point in the process, this is a while back, was that there were certain points in listening that he had to double check himself and be like, wait, did we get Thomas back? Which is cool. I mean, I think that's a really wonderful compliment. As someone who cares deeply about the show and has for some time, I haven't wanted to let anybody down, and I continue to not want to let people down even more now that I've actually engaged with some of the fandom, and people are just so nice, and dealing with nice people, you just don't want to let them down. So I'm hoping to have shown up for everybody. Well, I was pursuing musical theater for a long time. That was what I thought that I would do with my life. When I got out of college, I moved to Arizona and worked at a theater there as a graphic designer and photographer, and then performed at night. And I worked around Phoenix for a few years, and then moved to New York. And while I was in New York, I happened to luck into a meeting with an on-camera commercial agent through my manager. And so I got to go in there to a company called Paradigm, and meeting with the on-camera commercial guy, we chatted for like 45 minutes, and he goes, hold on, sort of takes me by the shoulders, trots me across the office, sits me down in front of a guy named Matt Smith, and goes, you two, talk. And Matt was a voiceover agent. So that sort of opened the door in my brain to the idea that voiceover was a possibility, right? And I think the first thing, maybe the only thing that I booked through them, was a commercial pitch for BBH, I think, for an ad company out of New York. And it was for a PlayStation ad. And I just went in and did the scratch track for a commercial. It was not even the commercial, right? You do the pitch of the commercial so that they can do a proof of concept, and then they'll make a commercial later on. That was the first thing. And then I was kind of like, after even just a couple auditions, I was like, hold on. I like this. I like this a lot. And so I wound up signing up for one of the online casting sites, which I don't love those now. I think they can be kind of predatory, which is frustrating because I hate to see that happen to people getting into the industry. But that was where I started, and that was how I thought I might be able to move forward. And I wound up getting an audition for an animated feature that was a foreign dubbing project in New York. And I woke up that day smiling, and I left the house grinning. I rode the subway beaming. I did the audition just ear to ear, and I left just glowing, right? To the point where I got on the phone with my dad that day, and I said, Dad, I think I found the thing I'm supposed to be doing. And truly, like, from that day forward, there was a major sort of shift in my efforts. I realized, oh, this voiceover thing makes my heart beat faster. I have enjoyed doing theater. I have enjoyed pursuing theater, but I have never felt it give me that same factor that voiceover did. And so that's kind of how I got started in it. I was fortunate enough to start working in a couple of dubbing projects in New York before moving to Los Angeles. Did a lot of research on the industry before moving, and pretty much everything was saying, hey, if you want to do voiceover, you can be a lot of different places. If you want to do animation, you got to be in LA. Well, all right. So we figured it out and moved to LA back in 2016. And by 2017, I was fortunate enough to stop having to work doing anything else, which I count my blessings for every day. My general suggestions to people who are interested in voiceover, because as you can imagine, when people find out about it, I think this is across the board something that people who are voice actors hear is, oh, you do voices? How do I do that? Like, all the time you get asked. So everyone kind of formulates their stock answer. And mine is listen to Talkin' Tunes, which is a podcast that was put out by Rob Paulson. I used to run by the Hudson River in New York and just listen to it and catalog all of this information. It is a treasure trove of information. You get stories from icons of the industry that you can learn from. Additionally, I say VO Buzz Weekly, which is hosted by Chuck Duran and Stacey J. Aswad. One of the coolest things about that podcast is that it's a little less actor-centric in terms of the guests, and you wind up getting agents, you get voice directors, you get casting directors, and so you can get an even broader knowledge base, right? And that one I think is available both on YouTube and as an audio podcast. Then I say, I want to be a voiceactor.com. This is D. Bradley Baker's website, which I can only venture a guess was his stock answer to, how do I do this? How do I become a voice actor? Go to my website. Here you go. Here's the answers. I can't get in depth with everyone who asks, so here it is. And the generosity of spirit that he has shown with the breadth of knowledge that he has shared is truly unparalleled. My favorite thing that I've heard him say is, so it's, I want to be a voiceactor.com, and if you can't remember that, then no, you don't. And it's want to, by the way, not wanna. I want to be a voiceactor.com could lead you down some other rabbit hole. I have no idea. But I want to be a voiceactor.com. Bloop. There it is. Treasure trove. And then finally, a book that I believe in so much that I was actually a testimonial in the second edition of it. Voiceover, Voice Actor by Tara Platt and Yuri Lowenthal. I was trying to do a mashup there, which was not ideal and not what I intended. So yeah, Yuri Lowenthal, Tara Platt, voiceover, voice actor. If you are someone who learns well with the written word, fantastic resource. Fantastic. You can kind of see that there are pairs of resources there with the podcasts, great for audio learners, right? And then I want to be a voiceactor.com and voiceover, voice actor, really great for visual learners, people who learn that way. But people who have come to me and asked, that's where I always send them. And I say, I am happy to spend time with you talking about this, but I want you to do a little bit of the legwork first. I want you to, it's not that I want the people to prove to me that they're interested, but I want to be a little protective of my time, and I also want to encourage them to know this field takes work. So if you're not willing to do those basic first steps, that kind of gives me a heads up on how much you actually want to do this. And I've had a couple of people, close friends, that have done the work and have circled back, and we try and spend time talking about, okay, how do we make this happen? If you have forgotten, or if you did not write these things down, if you go to my Twitter, at Errigo Voice, ERRIGOVOICE, the answer to that question is the pinned tweet on my Twitter.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.